Bulls Nation, today we've got a little bit of an update video in relation to the Chicago Bulls versus the Detroit Pistons game. There are a few injuries on both sides of the teams with the Chicago Bulls and the Detroit Pistons that we must talk about. And I feel like it's important to get these things out in the open before the opening season, before the opening night for the Chicago Bulls as we start off our regular season. So without further ado, let's get started and talk about some injuries in this video. Let's do it. What's going on, everybody? It's the Bulls Show, aka Aidan, and welcome back to another video. Today, we've got a Chicago Bulls related video referring to some injury updates for both the Bulls and the Pistons ahead of our opening night clash, at least for the Chicago Bulls, our opening night, and for the Pistons as well. But before we get any further, please like and subscribe to the Bulls Show. Turn notifications on and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about this opening season game for the Bulls and the Pistons. Who do you think is going to win? What's the score going to be? And who's going to be the standout performances? And will we have a good start to the season? I want to start off with the Detroit Pistons side of things. As we all know, the number one pick in the NBA draft was Cade Cunningham. And unfortunately for Cade Cunningham, he will not be playing the first game of the season for the Detroit Pistons against the Chicago Bulls. He has missed all of preseason, so this was a fairly expected result. He may be back the second time around that we do play Detroit, but at the moment, that point guard is not going to play against the Chicago Bulls. Again, he's a really good player in my eyes at least, and he does have something to prove to the rest of the league. Being the first pick, there's a lot of pressure being put on you, and you have to perform. Otherwise, you're seen as a bust very, very early if you do not perform in the regular season. So they're not going to rush him. That's what Dwayne Casey said about Cade Cunningham. And to be honest, whatever the case may be when it comes to Cade Cunningham, I would love to verse teams at their best because that brings a bigger challenge and it brings a more satisfying victory. But regardless, we need to beat what's put in front of us, and Cade Cunningham will not be there for the first game of the season. We still have to do what we do best. We have to go out, try very hard, perform at an elite standard offensively and defensively, and we'll see what we can get out of the game on opening night. And I'm very excited to see if the Bulls can do that, whether Cade is in there or not. And now moving on to some Chicago Bulls updates in relation to injuries. We do have one person that could potentially miss this game due to an illness, and his name is Troy Brown Jr. Troy Brown Jr. has been deemed questionable due to an illness, and he could potentially miss this upcoming game against the Detroit Pistons. Now, Troy Brown, this is not a major injury. It is an illness, which means by the time this game is come and gone, he will probably be back for the remainder of the season. It's not an injury per se, but it's important to identify that he could potentially miss this upcoming game. We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, this might be a game time decision, so we might not know much about it until obviously right before the game, and we get to see Troy Brown Jr. perform, and maybe he does do a very good job. I've been impressed with Troy Brown Jr., especially in his first preseason game with the Cleveland Cavaliers and how he performed there. His ability to make shots was pretty good for the Chicago Bulls, and hopefully we can see that as a major standing point throughout the rest of the regular season. But this could be one game where he just misses out. And again, we are going to have situations like this at the course of the season where players will get illnesses, will get minor injuries, and will miss some games. So this is the importance of having depth that I've been talking about for months. And let's see if the depth can stand up for Troy Brown while he is going to be missing, at least potentially, for this game against Detroit. We'll wait and see. We do have Derrick Jones Jr. in that position. Obviously, Patrick Williams can play there. DeMar can play there. The depth is solid in the small forward position, so I'm not too worried about Troy Brown Jr. not playing. But of course, for many people that are fans of Troy Brown Jr., I feel like it's important to mention. And now the time for talk is over, ladies and gentlemen. We are a mere few hours away from seeing our opening game against the Detroit Pistons and beginning our regular season campaign, beginning a long, tedious journey full of ups, full of downs, full of positives, full of negatives. This is when it all counts. This is when all the hard work you've been doing to acquire these players, to train in training camp, to perform in preseason, this is when it all comes together. The time for talking is over. The time for predictions is over. The time to say whether the Bulls will make the playoffs or not, it's over. Because now It's time for the Bulls to go out there and prove to every single person that either has supported the Bulls or doubted the Bulls what they're going to be. What are the Chicago Bulls? What are we going to be? Are we going to be a playoff team? Are we going to be a mediocre team? All of that's going to be answered now. The time for talk is over. So let's get hyped, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get excited for this upcoming season, because at the end of the day, this is a really, really, really exciting team that we have. And there's nothing more that's left to be said. We're an exciting team. We've seen the preseason. We know what we can be. But when it all counts, when it all matters the most, what are the Chicago Bulls? And we'll know the answer over the coming games and, of course, this upcoming season. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. It's a shorter video today because it's just a little bit of an update. It's an update on injuries and illnesses. And, of course, it's time to get hyped for the Chicago Bulls. Our season starts in a few hours. Be very happy, be very excited, be nervous. It's all going to come together. All the emotions you're feeling will all be bottled up inside, and hopefully the Chicago Bulls can have a strong start to the season to let those emotions come out. Have a wonderful and safe day. Take care and peace.